Evening, gents.
G'day, mate.
You phone who it is? Hello there.
Where are we?
Spa.
Spa.
We're by the spa with some beers.
Sounds good to me. Are we all naked in the spa there?
Well, maybe after a few more beers.
There's a sight I didn't want. Or visual, I should say.
So long as you don't get out and grab something.
I hope it's a big spa.
Me too. With lots of bubbles so I don't have to see what's happening.
Can't log in, authentication failure.
Stop using the UI.
Is that something that's going on?
It is.
Yeah, I was having it before as well. I'm using the web UI now.
Oh, that's...
Old school.
It's a bugger?
Yeah.
Alright,
They got maintenance scheduled for tonight, apparently, so I think it might be related.
fair enough. You in a hosted?
Yeah, only snails is the password.
Hopefully there's no RBTs.
But I haven't... yeah, me too. I haven't used the web UI in ages, but it's like riding a bike.
It's intuitive.
Well, I don't know about that.
Intuitive is a very strong word.
It's intuitive for anyone who
Intuitive.
spent 2 years
Yeah,
using it.
or a decade of memory, muscle memory.
Yeah.
One of those. I didn't check. What's your thinking on wing?
What was it, 4 or 3?
Oh, what about this iracing tidbits?
Because I know there's all the VRS ones, even the endurance ones are all set up around 8.
Are they?
Yep, so that's all.
No, the iRacing endurance one for this car is all, well, there's a low and a medium. The medium was 5. I think I notched it back to 4.
Yeah, I tried something like 2, and I've struggled to maintain a consistent pace and keep it straight.
Yeah, but it's not, in these cars, it's not about the wing, it's about the aero balance. So you lift the front and you get a really nice aero balance over the rear wing,
Aye.
which is why I'm really happy with the setup I've got at the minute. I would like some additional feedback because Ian wasn't giving you some great feedback last night.
Was it either it's good or it's shit?
He was telling me things that just didn't make sense to me when I was driving. It was completely opposite to what I was doing or I was feeling.
Different styles.
Yeah, I think so. But and the other thing was that he was doing 2:16.2s or whatever it was, so he's 1 second faster than me. So that's why I want a third opinion or a second one, maybe.
The other thing hasn't loaded. I will be back in a sec.
Driven any laps for a while.
I'm so happy with the off-track around here now.
Yes, I had a small go and notice it's a little bit kinder now.
It's more realistic now. Although maybe up through Eau Rouge it's still a bit too forgiving.
Ah. Oh shit.
I wonder what setup Jacob's using.
Fuji? Maybe? Fuji Endurance.
Alright, let's try this again. Looks like it's working this time. Brilliant.
Love it when things I pay for work.
I had an annoying experience with streaming Disney Plus the other day that, along those lines, that's made me want to pirate more and less.
Making life difficult.
Disney Plus. So I wanted to watch the Disney Plus show, Obi-Wan Kenobi,
Good
using the TV. So I was like, you know what? My computer monitors HDR. This would be great. I'll get to watch Star Wars with HDR on. It'll be awesome. Turns out Disney Plus only streams 720p to PCs because they don't want, it's their form of DRM in order to stop getting their high quality content. So instead of, but you know, people find ways no matter what you do.
I don't think that's working because I downloaded it in 1080p.
So instead of stopping people from pirating thing, all it does is stop me, who is paying for the service, from watching Obi-Wan Kenobi in nice high resolution when I want to watch it on my screen. And so I was like, fuck them. And I even just went and downloaded it. Like, I'm still paying for Disney Plus, but I don't want to. But yeah, I went and downloaded it and watched a downloaded version instead, even though I have Disney Plus, because it's better. Like, it's high quality. I had 4K HDR. And I was just like, this is stupid. Like, instead of actually protecting their stuff, they punish the people who are paying.
customers. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny as well because they're punishing the people that have the means to get around it.
Well, they're not. They're not punishing the people that are downloading it because they're still recording it at high res. They're just stopping the legitimate people doing it.
Yeah, it reminds me very much of when I think games have stopped doing this a bit. The DRM's not so bad on games anymore, but I remember a period where like DRM was so annoying on games that people would pirate it just because they didn't want to deal with it. Like, it's just all you're doing is getting in the way of your actual customers.
I remember,
and you're not affecting your pirates at all.
Sean, you're too young. But I remember buying DVDs and having unskippable ads about piracy, where I could go and download it, and the pirators would just cut that out.
You wouldn't download a car?
Yeah.
Absolutely, I would.
Yeah, and then they now got photos of 3D printed cars that they've downloaded plans for.
It's actually quite funny because I remember getting F1 GP and I had to have the user manual with me because I had to look up the random pages for the code word.
Can someone Sarah shut up? Sarah shut up.
What's worse is I knew exactly what you meant.
Yeah, hang on, I'll come into the pit lane because I want to make a few modifications.
So yes, lately this year I started setting up a pirating system just because
I'm streaming this right now.
just because I thought it would be interesting because I'm setting up like an actual Plex server and everything. And then I didn't care that much. I didn't feel like I was missing too many things. And now that I've been pirating stuff, I've started being like, actually, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I do want to watch. And I was just kind of ignoring it because I didn't have access to it. And now that I've got access to it, I'm kind of like, oh, actually, I'm pirating a lot of stuff now that I didn't think I would. And then that Disney thing made me just go, fuck this, why am I paying it all? This is crap. I'm going to pirate more heavily.
Set up shared, by the way.
Cheers.
I don't like it. KO, every time I sign in, it asks me who I am.
I know, right?
And I've got to choose me. Like, I'm the only one there. Like, there's no others. It's not like there's multiple profiles. There's one profile.
Oh, you know what's even worse? When I went up to visit my mum last year when my dad died, on KO, my dad had his profile, my mum had her profile, so every time she was jumping into it, it was a reminder to her of him. So, yeah, those profile things are...
I now watch all of his sports.
Well, she loved NRL too much, so... Oh, God. What can I adjust on this thing? Are you running this setup, Warwick?
Not yet.
I want feedback, guys.
Because I had to load through the website, it didn't load my settings. Now I have to like do all the settings. Yeah.
What? That doesn't sound right.
Because in the UI, you can choose between your VR settings and your non-VR settings, and the website doesn't load the VR settings. It doesn't know about that system.
I think want those hats with the straws.
But I finished watching Obi-Wan Kenobi. Has everyone?
I actually haven't even started watching it. But,
Oh my god, it's
No spoilers then.
spoiler alert, they both live.
Oh, really?
And Luke lives and Leia lives.
Exactly.
I did see a meme on Reddit saying that Luke's original parents were real badass, and what really happened was that they just put a fake body up there to scare off the things, and Luke thought that they were them dead, and then he just wandered off. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That actually matches the show.
No, but I thought it was really good. I saw some the reviews online are kind of average, and I saw some comments about something about low budget ruined it, but I don't really. It didn't seem obvious to me that they had a low budget. It just seemed like a good Star Wars story.
Yeah, I can sort of see what it is. They're obviously trying to churn out stuff, maximum profit. They could have done much more. Don't you give me fuck?
But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, it had the Star Wars sound effects. It had the Star Wars music. It had lightsaber fights. It was Star Wars, and it was good.
Yeah,
it wasn't too dull.
Wasn't long enough though. I need more. I need more.
Outside of the original trilogy that they made in the 70s and 80s, I really liked Rogue One.
Yep.
Yeah, Rogue One was good. I think Rogue One was a bit of a refresh, stuff doesn't always go perfectly, kind of because the original Star Wars were real traditional hero's journey stuff.
Yeah.
And so having Rogue One where it's kind of and they die at the end. It's whoa, all right. Fuck, that's different.
They kind of had to though, didn't they? They sort of...
Yeah.
Just because they said good people died to get this, right?
Yeah.
That's the only reason they had to die.
Well, that and the fact that you then have to answer where did they go between then and Star Wars? Why know these two people anymore? So it sort of forced that storyline, and they did it really well. How do you create characters like that you immediately want to know more about? They've done a fantastic job at going, here's a bunch of people you've never met, we're going to kill them off. You watch the movie and go, I need more backstory. I need to know. And what do you know? We have a TV show on its way.
And the one that didn't really capture my attention was Han Solo.
Yeah, the movie, didn't something, I don't know.
I remember it. It seemed fine. Doesn't stand out.
It seemed like a little bit of a checklist movie, right?
It was fun to watch, but it didn't have that. It didn't drag you into it like some of the other stuff does. Looser.
It's funny because I was 10 when Star Wars Episode 1 came out. So I was basically the target audience for Star Wars Episode 1. And I loved it. It was the best movie I'd ever seen. And it's funny sort of looking...
Jar Jar?
Well, not Jar Jar, but I don't know, just the setting in the world and all the lightsaber fights and
Why'd you make me feel
laser
old?
guns and stuff. And so it was just fucking cool. And I loved it. And it's funny looking back now. It's just like, oh, it's actually not that good a movie. I was just too young to know any different, and I'd never seen like the originals or anything. So,
but that's exactly right. It's not targeted as to adults and stuff. So as adults, if you want a super complicated plot, you're looking in the wrong spot. The whole point was to be a really simple story that kids can watch and know and love, as well as some of the adults get off on the whole laser sword and stuff. If you want deep plot, lots of twists, it's not what it is. That's not what Star Wars is.
Funnily enough, like a lot of the movie is about like the politics and the Senate and the different planets and all that. And like obviously as a 10-year-old, that was all lost on me. And as an adult, I'm like, this is boring. It's like in neither situation did the movie really need that.
Well, they needed to explain how the Senate lost control in the first place, right? But I think they delved into it way too much.
Yeah. It's funny actually. I remember me and Tom, I think Warwick's play gamers with Tom maybe, a housemate of mine. We wanted to like watch all the Star Wars, and we were like, let's watch them in like, episode 1 through to 6. And we started watching episode 1, and we were like, I can't take it. Like,
come on.
It's too boring. Like, it's just like I don't care about like perfectly made, amazing pieces of cinema, but it was just boring. So we watched it on like fast forward in 15 minutes, and it was basically like it was just like scene would flash up, and it was like, oh, I remember that scene. I remember what happens. And it was basically just like flashcards remembering like what happened in the movie. And we got to the end and we're like, yeah, cool. I actually remember like the whole plot. I didn't need to sit through all the boring shit. And now we can go on episode 2 where it gets a bit more interesting.
I watch some stuff like that.
Watching some motorsports like that, like Porsche Supercut races when there's boring.
Hey, what? I can really pick the. Oh fuck! The change in grip.
Yeah, between lap 1 and 3.
No, between the 4 wings or whatever you're running in the.
Okay.
7 or 8 wing. Oh my god! Just 4 wheels sliding everywhere.
What wing is the one you shared with me, Dennis?
4.
Okay. I think you can tell when you didn't push on like the first flying lap in these cars when you're still pretty close after like 3 or 4 laps with your first lap. So like, okay, there must have been a bunch more time in that first lap.
Yes.
Oh, it's a bit taily through the fast stuff in this setup.
Yeah, but it's controllable, right? You're not flicking it.
Yeah, makes me feel nervous though.
Yeah, 24 hours.
I tried I didn't realise it was a wing as well, and that's -1 wing, which I didn't know you could even do. Yeah, and for this, it just basically go over Eau Rouge and you just die.
Yeah.
It was like that stalling thing that we got.
I'm so bummed I can't do this again. It's probably one of the best ones last year.
And they got such a good lineup this year too.
Basically,
are you coming to Dennis's wedding, Warwick?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Guess I'll meet you there.
Yep. Yep. You gotta go early though, right? You can't catch the bus.
Yeah. No. Ellie will be catching the bus though. Unless Ellie comes up early, but I don't know if she wants to, because she doesn't know anyone else. We'll have to see.
Who wants fucking interesting?
Or Yeah, I'm on like lap 4 now, and like pool, and I just had a full rear slide. This doesn't feel safe.
For me, it was only because I've been driving higher downforce, so I've been going in deep and.
I don't have any comparison, but I'm still getting it.
Yeah, okay. I'll
Some
take that
some
feedback.
Yeah, some corners it feels good on, where you can be like, I know that if I turn in a little bit fast, the rear will kind of just move a bit and get me rotated, and like I know I'm not gonna understeer through the corner, but I just had the rear hanging out through corn, and it was a bit interesting.
Hang on a tick. I've got a adjustment.
You want me to try? Because I just finished this lap, so I can.
Yep. Let me just make sure I share.
Seems like a very fast lap. Ian must know what he's doing in these cars.
It was a little bit cooler yesterday as well, and yes, Ian was very quick. The fact that I managed to get close to that time yesterday suggests maybe he is actually pretty good.
I've definitely raced against him, and I feel like I was typically around his speed, but that seems faster than I'd be able to do in this car.
Yeah, it was a little bit cooler yesterday, so I'm just checking. We were at 30-degree track temp. Or 31-degree track temp, there you go. We're currently at 36.
I'm not familiar with how much that'd be worth in this car.
Yeah, neither, seeing as this is actually the second day I've driven this car.
Oh, looks like everyone pit partied after me.
Looks like it.
I'll just wait. Oh, I did another radical race at Laguna Seca.
Oh yeah,
the car was much nicer at that track, which was essentially because there's no bumps. Like the track is just smooth. If I hit the like little sausage curbs that are on the apex of a few of the corners, it was bad. Like the car is just super stiff. But like as long as you're on the track and it's smooth and the track's not bumpy, it's actually really nice. I had quite a good race. So
yeah, I did fixed Watkins last week with the GT4, which was good fun.
Okay.
Started 12th, finished 7th, I think it was. Lots of death around me, not including me.
Oh, I did the GT3s at what's the
Fuji.
No, the narrow one before that. What do you call it?
Yeah, I know, the street circuit.
Yeah, the street circuit. Long Island. And it was actually it was like a 4K soft. I was like right near the back, and it was like such a good race. It was so close. Turn 1, the entire field got through there, not a problem. I actually like watched the replay back a couple times because it just looked so clean, like everyone just making their way through. I haven't really done much this week though.
Wasn't exactly the quickest line through there. Gonna give Warwick a draft there. bit more stability in the setup, you reckon, Sean?
Yeah, but it's lap 1, so it's very grippy, I think. I don't know, maybe the setup's got higher wing. I was gonna ask you then, I was like, you know what, maybe I'll just do it blind. So far feels good. Feels like higher wing.
It's not a higher wing, but thank you.
We'll see what it's like when I lose the lap 1 grip then. Oh, yeah, I almost lost the rear there.
In the draft, it's bad.
Slingshot me straight into work.
That was the idea.
Talking to myself for God knows how long.
You're not talking to yourself, you're talking to Jacob.
He's not listening to me.
So you're raising a normal kid then?
Yep.
I was about to basically make the same joke.
Oh, that's too deep. I really tried to hold you up in the middle of that corner. I don't think it really worked.
Oh. What are you doing?
What?
Did you lift?
Yep. I'm trying to ruin your run. I'm not sure if it worked very well.
No, I think you
Worked for Dennis.
yeah.
Well, that was very deep.
It's alright. I made it stick.
No, I meant Sean. He really. Oh! Oh shit!
And there goes Warwick.
He tried to ruin our runs, he ruined his own.
Someone ran into me.
Oh.
1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 21 22 23 24 25 26 27 28 29 30 31 32 33 34 35 36 37 38 39 40 41 42 43 44 45 46 47 48 49 50 51 52 53 54 55 56 57 58 59 60 61 62 63 64 65 66 67 68 69 70 71 72 73 74 75 76 77 78 79 80 81 82 83 84 85 86 87 88 89 90 91 92 93 94 95 96 97 98 99 100 101 102 103 104 105 106 107 108 109 110 111 112 113 114 115 116 117 118 119 120 121 122 123 124 125 126 127 128 129 130 131 132 133 134 135 136 137 138 139 140 141 142 143 144 145 146 147 148 149 150 151 152 153 154 155 156 157
That's the wall. Alright, ready for the next round of adjustments?
Yes.
Yep.
Stand by, I'm just topping up on the fluids.
Alright, me too. Back
So what's the feedback that it's still too snappy
taily.
and faster?
Yep. Lap 1 is deceptive. I don't think you should base like any feedback on lap 1 because it's just so much grip that like it doesn't matter. As soon as it's on lap 2 and 3, you start to feel it's kind of taily. Mainly the high, like the medium speed stuff, it actually feels good because you can get the car to rotate. It's just like Pouillon and Blanchimont. Eau Rouge is fine. It's not really a problem.
But it'd be okay for a sprint round. I just don't think a 12-hour. It's.
I feel like every time I come up to a high speed corner, I know that I'm going to counter steer some amount. I'm always catching the rear, and I can do it, but like Warwick says, over 24 hours, can I do it every single time? Don't know.
Okay, there we go. 2.3.
But 2.3. Have you downloaded the Tarkov patch yet?
He's going to get a drink.
Mm. Oh, what time's FP1? 10. How long have we got till FP1?
15 minutes.
10? Crap. Should, where'd Jacob go?
I'm back.
Welcome back. 2.3's up.
All right.
I'm waiting for someone like Ian to come back, someone who's actually going to use the setup in the race and go, nah, shit, change it back.
Yeah. Me and Warwick just dictating
Yeah, the
setup.
two people not running in the race have decided the direction of the setup.
Well, what he was saying was similar to what he was saying, so it's all good. I actually have absolutely no problems with the oversteer. I feel like it's predictable, but maybe it's because I built the bloody thing. It's to my needs.
And you're comfortable with it. The guy, I started with a higher downforce car, so immediately I could feel the difference.
Yeah, when I do these enduros, I try to go with the lowest I can bear to begin with.
Yeah. That is, yeah, I think it's generally a good idea. I mean, I came into it with no prior higher downforce knowledge, and I still had the same thoughts, so...
It's probably good that I went with the minimum wing early on as well.
For some reason, I'm not as fast without a toe. Must be
also,
the setup.
it doesn't feel like there's not enough downforce. It just feels like a balance thing. It's like there just needs to be more of it towards the rear.
I don't know. Like I said, I got used to throwing it into certain corners and having the safety net of higher wing to help. So I need to adjust braking markers.
It's I feel like a conundrum with every enduro is like, ultimately, it's sort of your average lap time over such a long period that if the higher downforce is a tenth a lap faster on your own, realistically, most of the race is just lapping on your own, and you kind of just want that, like that should be the fastest setup. But if you get stuck behind someone for an entire stint that you just can't get past because you're running higher wing, it's super frustrating.
When does that happen though? Most of them, especially at the start of the race, should be the whole, it's faster for both of us to let it through.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Right,
if I'm running lower wing and someone comes up behind me, it's kind of like, you know what, yeah, let them through.
Yeah, because you're safe, you're safer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm of that same mindset. The only problem is that there's always aggressive people that fall backwards.
Yep.
And then they come up and they do these massive dive bombs. So you let them through and then they make another mistake and then you have to go through that whole cycle again.
Yeah.
Jesus, this is so slow down the straight. It's 4Ks slower.
Yeah, I'm just watching my delta tick away.
Yeah, but my delta's now up against draft in probably all of the straights. Why no track map work?
What do you need a track map for? Just look ahead of you.
Not for me.
It's a good point.
Take the mirrors off. No need for mirrors.
Funny actually, because I always found it interesting that motorbikes, like racing motorbikes, don't have mirrors intentionally.
Yeah, well, it's... yeah, there's no point really when you think about it.
I mean, you can still see who's there though, but like, it's interesting that they just say like, you know what? It's it's the person behind. The person in front has no responsibility whatsoever for seeing what's happening behind them. I feel like it'd be an entirely different experience as a racing driver of like, you don't even need to know if somebody's like over your shoulder. It's like, if you can't see them looking forwards, forget about them. But I think they can probably hear them a bit more. So yeah, they might have some of that.
You actually feel the presence as well.
You can't really defend in a bike like you can a car. Like if they're coming, they're coming.
Yeah.
Well, you say that, but have you seen the guys slide into the corners, backing it in?
Yeah, to make the pass.
Oh, not even to make the pass, even to block.
Yeah, it's hard to block though, because yeah, it's like the bike's only like a meter wide. There's almost always going to be a line next to you. You kind of can't block you can't take a defensive line in the same way you can in a car. I don't think.
Or on my own. Not a pretty
I reckon if you watch Anthony Gobert of the Go Show back in the 90s, he used to back the thing everywhere.
Yeah, but that doesn't help you defend. That's just entering the corner fast.
Yeah, I know, but it ended up blocking the guy behind because he couldn't take the line.
Right.
And there's a sad story as well. One of the most talented riders Australia's ever produced, but caught up in all sorts of, recreational drug controversies.
Oh, really?
And just all-round dickhead.
The way that started was like you're just a bloke, unlucky, got involved with the wrong crowd, and then you finished it off with, and he was a dickhead.
Well,
not sure if that's before or after the drug abuse.
Well, it progressively got worse, right? But I've actually met the guy as well. He's a tool. Because everyone used to think how awesome a rider, his bike control was so amazing, and he let that get to his head.
Yeah.
With being brilliant, it's hard not to turn into an arrogant ass.
Yeah. I feel like to continue, to reach that top level, you'd have to just be super confident and arrogant. But to stay there, you've got to have enough humbleness to know that the next guy is 0.1% behind you, and if you lose that, you're not top anymore. You're only top by the smallest of margins.
It's a fickle thing.
Yeah.
Could be a combination, a tyre compound change, a chassis change, the wind blowing the wrong direction changes. You never know what can change.
Well, I suppose on motorbikes, because it's so physical, you're moving your body around the bike, a lot of riders have a preferred direction, and Marc Marquez is known to prefer left-hand corners, and you can see in his record, historically, he does better at left, counterclockwise circuits. If he goes to a counterclockwise circuit, he's generally preferred. And it's just and that's true of pretty much any rider, because when you're physically moving around on the bike like that, you it feels different. Turning left to turning right feels different.
Like
but you just don't have that in a car,
right?
Yeah.
You're sort of left-footed or right-footed on a board, and I think it
feels somewhat just like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't have that in a car. I feel like there's certain stuff that really.
Well, the Americans can only turn left, so.
Well, that's if you ever go down to Phillip Island and go to the museum, there's a fantastic photo of Wayne Gardner with his shoulder almost touching the curb.
Yeah, I've seen. There's been ones. I think that's kind of normal, or a bit more normal now. There's been photos of Marc Marquez doing stuff like that. Yeah, back then, putting your knee on the ground was sort of the limit for a while, and then it was their elbows are getting kind of close, and then it was fuck, now their shoulders sometimes on certain corners.
When Wayne Gardner was the bee's knees, and then Daryl Beattie, and then Casey Stoner, we've just been Beattie, not Beattie, who was doing? Been pretty lucky with the old MotoGP riders.
Yeah, even Kevin McKee's not too bad back in his day.
I kind of feel bad for Miller. He's obviously really good, but he's just always been. It's he's just always in that best of the rest category. It's he can finish second, third, fourth, fifth, but he just has never been able to just win and win repeatedly.
Well, how many drivers would have been, take out Michael Schumacher, who would have succeeded in lieu of someone like Hamilton? Surely there's someone living in a shadow like that who, without that super exceptional human being, would have been pretty darn good themselves, but didn't get any wins.
Hulkenberg is probably the closest in that whole era that I think just underperformed. And
Well,
So
Perez was basically like that.
Oh, Perez was never that. His career is actually interesting. He's lucky to have that second chance, let alone the third chance with Red Bull.
But I mean, like, he's showing now. He's outperforming everyone else who's gone up against Max, except maybe Daniel.
Did they learn anything from those drivers and go, you know what, perhaps we need to dial the car in a bit better? How much of it is them learning from the drivers that spat out? How much of it is the new chassis?
I mean, last year, though, he was still outperforming the previous two drivers, and that was still on the old car.
Yeah, I don't know if it was just
he came in and did a good job. And it's like, I mean, it's kind of one of those things where it's just like, when you say it out loud, it sounds like obvious that every driver on that grid is exceptional. Like, they are all really, really fucking good drivers.
Yeah, but there's those, when you come back to it, like the Michael Schumachers of the world, the Lewis Hamiltons of the world, there's just that extra tenth, right?
Yeah, I agree. And Perez definitely doesn't have that, or at least he hasn't shown that he has that. But it's interesting seeing how he performs at a top team when he's spent like a solid Formula One career just in the sort of midfield, kind of nowhere. Like, the name Perez before like 2021 or whatever, I'm pretty sure I saw Perez in the game. It's kind of like, oh, yeah, that's just one of the back guys. Like, I don't really know who he is, but I know he's at the back.
He was always the driver that seemed to be punching above his weight, though. You know, like he was able to drag, not regularly, I guess, but you know, they'd have glimmers of brilliance. Yeah. So then you sort of go, how much of it's the car? How much of it's the driver? Given a chance, would he do any good? And he seems to be doing okay so far.
Yeah, look, he got the Arno Trullis, the Fisichella's of the world. I'd rate Perez in the same category. Good journeyman.
Good number 2 drivers.
Yeah, maybe.
Mark Webber.
See?
Oh, yeah, that's rough for Mark.
I know. I know.
Look, to be honest, right, Mark wasn't. I feel like Danny Rick is better than Mark Webber, right?
I do too. I don't know if Mark ever got a chance to shine.
Oh, there was that one season where he blew it himself by breaking his collarbone.
Yeah. Now, from what I read, that was the year after is when they changed tyre, and there was an interview or something where he said he never ever had the same feel with the Pirellis as he did the Michelin. Was it Michelin before that?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, maybe Bridgestone. No, you're right. I think Michelin, then Pirelli.
But it's interesting that something like that, you know, where he was on top, whether that was all the junior category stuff, and the difference between a Webber and a Vettel, where he's right in the mix, and then all of a sudden there's a change. Could have been a tyre. I don't know how much of it was bullshit, how much of it was confidence, how much of it was I broke my shoulder and I don't have the feel anymore. I mean, you don't know, but
you could even argue the same for Vettel going into the hybrid era, right? Was he ever on top of it?
Not yet. Oh, I don't know. Now I feel like I need to go back and have a look at that. Specifically at his record. You know what? I hated Vettel for that whole multi 21
not only multi 21, but even the finger boy and all that kind of stuff. But I was German born, so I looked past all of that stuff.
He's growing on me, and I don't like it.
I think it's always been the same, though. That's the funny thing about him, right?
He seems really great as a human being. He's one of those guys who seems like he's super successful and rich and everything, but he actually still seems like a good person.
Genuine heart, yeah.
So it's like, I like that about him. But everyone like blows smoke up his ass, and like, you know, sure, he's got a bunch of world records, which is outstanding. Like, not many people have multiple world records in anything, but he doesn't actually seem that good to me. Like, and I came in after, you know, while he was at Ferrari. I never really watched while he was winning and stuff.
He dominated in the Red Bull, and people were complaining about the Red Bull domination back in those days. But little did they know what was coming with Mercedes.
Yeah.
That was even worse, right?
But yeah, that's the kind of thing that makes you go like, well, I've never seen him do exceptionally well. So I guess he just had like a car that either suited him fantastically or just a car that was just super better than everyone else. I guess his teammate, he still had to beat his teammate. Like, every F1 driver has to at least beat their teammate. So there's some level of like credit that has to go to that.
Yeah, I can't remember the season. I think it was 2011. Webber actually was ahead in the points coming towards the end. And the only reason why Webber let that slip was because he broke his collarbone in a cycling accident.
Yeah. He didn't tell anyone. They come out after the fact.
After the fact. And his performance has dropped off, and you could tell, and he just had some woeful races.
But yeah, he's never, I don't know, since 2018 when I started watching, he's never been that good. So it's kind of funny when people are like, "Oh, Vettel, he's one of the best." It's like,
well,
it doesn't seem it.
Very interesting to see how Lewis handles this. So we're in that. Is it a car thing? The new rules not fitting in? Is it the team? So imagine a young fella coming in. Picture someone like Marcus, who in 5, 10, 15 years goes, I don't know what all the thing is. All I ever remember was Lewis struggling and whinging about his shit.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what happens from now. 8 world champions. Everyone says he's the greatest of all time, yet the only races I ever remember watching, he wasn't any good.
Yep.
Maybe they've solved it. I thought I read somewhere that they're on top of something and it's just the bumps now. It's not the...
Yeah, but they're still slow.
Well,
they're not fast enough.
Well, the funny thing is, everyone knows how to solve the problem. It's just that they don't want to lose the speed doing so, right?
Yeah, it's about solving the problem without losing speed. And I think that's it.
And I find it funny because I looked on Reddit, and apparently Williams has rocked up with brand new side pods that look identical to the Red Bull.
That was the Aston Martin.
True.
Thank you.
But it hasn't done anything for Aston Martin. Like, I don't think it's just side pods.
We designed 3 cars at the start of the year. Ones that mirrored Mercedes, Red Bull, and we just wait to see which one was the best one.
Good comparative info, right?
Yeah, just by chance. Trust me. We've never copied another car before.
No, see, I believe them because their change in side pod hasn't changed their performance at all.
Still suck. They could have the same car and not be as successful as Red Bull. But literally the same car.
Well, I think it's easy to not really understand, and I don't understand it because I'm not part of the team, how much of it is all the behind the scenes stuff, or how well the team's working, how well the engineers help make setup changes, how well just all of the different parts of the team come together, because the differences are small, right? So if the mechanics and the engineers do something a little bit better than another team, that can help make the driver go a tenth faster, and that can make all the difference.
I always wondered how much of it is car. Like, if the differences of speed is 10% car and 1% setup, or is it 15% car and 5% setup? I always wondered what the sorts of proportions are where they're losing time.
You still have the spec series like F3 and F2, where you still have the top teams and the bottom teams, and they've all got the same spec car. They're not developing a car.
Yeah.
So the teams definitely play a role, and if they know what they're doing, it makes a difference.
Well, you look at Prema for the last couple of years in F2, they've just been dominating, and even in F3, right? Their driver has won the championship in the last 3, 4, maybe even 4 seasons in both those series.
Eating.
Well, yeah.
Are they good at signing talent acquisition?
Well, they're
drivers
with the Ferrari Academy, right?
Yeah. So they get the pick of the best drivers, and everybody wants to, all the engineers know that it's a good step up. But yeah, they're attracting the better people. So it still shows how important the right people are.
And they probably have, and even beyond the people, I know a lot of that stuff would be existing process and stuff. Like when you come into the team, they would have documents about how everything works, and a bunch of that would just be they have good processes. It sounds boring as hell, but that would make a difference.
I think all of us use soft in our day-to-day life.
I think all 3 of us appreciate processes.
Yep. I've written a few.
Whereas, like, if you go into one of the teams that's towards the back, it might be the situation that people come in and get told, like, this is what you need to do, figure out how to do it. And that would mean that they're just not as effective as their job. And that slows down the driver. Like, a few steps removed, but that'd be the kind of effect it has.
Well, even to that point where, where we get Regis is telling us that, which team was it? Went completely different direction with their cooling than everyone else, right? And that's just underneath the skin. Was that Williams or was that... No, it was Alfa Romeo, right?
I don't remember. But I remember something about that.
And that was a decision made by an engineer, right?
Well, and I tell you what, if it pays off, he'll be pretty popular. Probably hunted by the other teams.
Yeah, the problem is the reason why the other teams are going in different directions is because that shit works, right? Who was on Beyond Grid recently? I think it was the guy that was at Williams for a long, long time. And he basically said that, back in the 80s and to a certain degree, the 90s, the car was all about, these massive performance gains with technologies. But now it's all about these small, 1%ers everywhere.
Exactly.
It's insane though, because like definitely between Red Bull and Ferrari and even Mercedes, it is like minute differences. But the difference between Red Bull and like Williams is, even though the cars, like you said, they'd basically be using the exact same technologies around the board, like their suspension, their engine, the MGU, and K, and all that sort of stuff is essentially the same technology. But like Williams obviously just don't have the entire package together. It's crazy how big a difference, like...
Yeah, Warren would remember back in the days when the field spread in an F1 race was ginormous, right? There was people being lapped, not just once, but multiple times.
Williams get that.
Yeah, I was going to say. But one thing I remember, noticed
no, even up to the top 6, right? In '94 season, there were races where Michael Schumacher and Damon Hill were the only ones on the lead lap.
Crazy.
But you look at the supercars as well. Like everyone keeps, and I'm sure this is the same for every category, is the golden era, the golden days, and touring cars. It was the the 70s and 80s with the V8s. That were the days. Take me back. And then someone says, dude, the guy that won Bathurst that year was 5 laps in front of P2. Don't sit there. It's amazing what you remember about the good old days and
back
like
to
that.
Sean's point about episode 1 being good. I mean, people get wise over time.
Yeah.
It's hard to say go back, because if you did, you'd sort of start to remember that there was a team or something that was so far out it was ridiculous. But maybe it was less about that and more about the environment, we call it, the atmosphere and the...
Yeah, but you've got to remember, Sean, there was a 107.5% rule, right? So if you don't qualify within 107.5% of the fastest car, you don't take the grid.
They still have that, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
but in the 90s, that was actually a problem for a lot of teams.
Oh, okay.
You can get exceptions for that based on, we crashed.
We were able to set that lap time in practice consistently.
But,
it's
like a representative lap. If your representative quality lap was more than that, then you couldn't compete. Which is, it's crazy you say that as well, because like I was about to say, 107% is huge. Like, that is so slow.
Yeah.
And I can understand, like, that is, it gets dangerous. And that's I guess, why that rule exists.
Well, they used to have pre-qualifying back in the 80s and early 90s, and that was just a shit show, right? Only the top 26 made it through. And
26 on the grid.
Yeah, there was 26 on the grid.
What a dream.
But the guys
profit
at the back
weren't divvied up back then.
Yeah,
I guess it's kind of like in iracing where it's like, not splitting means all you've got is just more shit guys at the back. Like, it doesn't change the race at the front.
and what made it even worse was that the guys that were battling for pre-qualifying, they'd have teams that would never qualify, so they couldn't get sponsors, and it was just this, cyclic.
It makes sense that they're not there anymore.
Yeah. Some of the stories are terrible from some of those teams as well.
And cheap. But that's what back in the days where you literally had a qualifying engine that was built to do one lap and then detonate.
Yeah, they grenade themselves, right?
Yeah, and
with tyres that would just melt off the cars, right?
So they made some pretty good changes, I think, except for the aero.
Yeah, I just want them to be able to let the teams go wild with engine development, like WEC does, right? It's one of the things I really like the WEC is that they can do whatever they want with the engines.
I mean, they had the problem where they had to change the regs from the LMP1 because it was just too expensive. And I think you'd have... Well, I guess...
They're trying to get manufacturers in...
They could change it so it's like you could do whatever you want, but the budget cap exists. So therefore it's kind of like do whatever you want within the budget.
V8 Supercars did an odd thing and said you can develop certain items as much as you want, but if you do, you have to share your info with everyone.
What?
Yeah, so that was their way of stopping people overdeveloping engines. It got to the point where the same sort of thing, right? Your 1%ers are giving gains of 5 positions or something like that. So the whole idea, instead of saying right, it's frozen, it was a case of certain things you're not allowed to develop at all, and the other things are develop but share your data, which basically means nobody develops it.
I was about to say that's a roundabout way of freezing it because no one's going to spend the money to give other people improvements.
Well, until someone comes along with a lot of money and they just turn around and say, well, fuck it, we're just going to outdevelop everyone quickly.
Yeah, I guess, the benefit there is that you're the first. So the idea would be that you develop something new, you use it, you get the advantage from it, and by the time everyone else has implemented your
not only implemented
data,
but actually
and made use of it, you're on to the next thing. So it's kind of like you're just always a step ahead. If you're always developing ahead of everyone else, because you release the design stuff doesn't mean people can put everything together. Because the cars are such a cohesive thing where it's like the whole thing has to work together.
The other thing you could do, if you're really being a bastard about it as well, just keep developing rubbish, right?
Yeah, don't use it.
Yeah, exactly.
And don't tell them which thing works or not. But maybe the data that they share has to...
usage as well, you reckon?
I don't know.
Well, actually, they do share all the data, don't they? Because I was watching a telecast and they actually share... Oh, no, this was in NASCAR. They share all the data now, which I think is hilarious.
F1 shares a lot of data because I've definitely seen
No. NASCAR was actually sharing throttle and brake and steering inputs, right?
Yeah, I don't think they share that.
Yeah, but they tell you how they get it though.
Yeah. Well, a lot of that stuff's all the FIA standardized and a lot of whatever racing thing they here's your engine ECU and stuff, and that's all controls the throttle and it controls the telemetry importantly, so that the governing body can get raw, accurate telemetry from everyone, and there's just no way around it. It's use our computer, which sends us data, or don't race. But I mean, that's fair. I think seems like a reasonable implementation.
Until you get Ferrari along who put something before the measurement and put something after the measurement.
Yeah.
But they'll do it.
Yeah, it's interesting they share. I guess all the GPS data and stuff is shared because I hear on the pit wall when they're I think I've heard them ask Christian Horner oh, where's Max losing out or whatever, and he's oh yeah, we're slow in this corner and down this straight by this much. So they obviously have accurate lap information that I guess they just don't have the throttle and brake and stuff.
Yeah, probably was watching the Sonoma race for NASCAR because I had a day off and it just happened to be on, and I don't normally watch NASCAR, but it was a street circuit, right? So I'm watching it, and then all of a sudden they're on the radio to him and saying that blah, blah, blah of another team is doing this in this corner with these brake and acceleration. He's in this gear. And it's like, okay.
Interesting.
And it's funny to watch NASCAR guys try and do a circuit as well.
Yeah. They're much better at it now than they used to be. God, the days of road ringers, where they used to get road specialists in to race for them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't know about that.
Boris said was a specialist. And then around the sort of time when Ambrose was there, they'd gotten pretty bloody good at it. So I think as a collective, they're far better than they ever were.
Unrelated to all that, but related to the this race, I just realized these enduro pits are like super long. So if you can cut out a pit stop, it's probably like worth it.
Yeah, my fuel usage is a little higher with the more wing, I've noticed. How was that set up, by the way, guys?
I'm about half the stint in, just been sort of mindlessly driving. I want to finish the stint, but I want to go get a refill on my drink. Feels good. I've just sort of been driving it without paying too much attention, and it just does what it's meant to do. Is it higher wing?
Yeah, one notch higher.
Yeah, feels better. I like it. Yeah. I haven't had any nervous moments in the high speed stuff. And I was doing sort of, I think, mid 117s on average.
Oh, I don't think I was. I can't talk and drive though.
Yeah, if I do a good lap, I'm in the 17s. Otherwise, I'm in low 18s.
Let me just turn off retires and I'll actually stop and find out. But I want to finish the stint. Oh, I wonder if I've gone too far forward to get into my pit box. Hopefully I don't get black flagged.
You're an admin, man.
Ah. What were my laps like? Yeah, I was doing... I think initially it was low 17, and then I dropped to the 18 on lap 3 where the tyres drop away, but you're still on high fuel. And then my lap time sort of went from high 17s down to the mid 17s, and I'm about halfway through the stint. Back in a sec.
my god.
What?
3/10 in the last fucking corner. Sounds like steam. Oh no. How long has the session got?
23.
23 minutes.
Yep. Getting to the point where the fuel's coming off and my lap times are coming down.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
What's Warwick doing in the pits?
He said something about oh no, so I'm tipping he did something wrong.
Are you going to do the F1 race on Sunday night?
Which circuit?
Silverstone.
Oh, of course. Yeah, why not?
I think we have a run now of like 4 tracks that are all like ones that iRacing has. Something like that. Like it's a good section in the middle of the season where iRacing has a bunch of the tracks. It was Canada last week, Silverstone this week. I think Red Bull Ring next week.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Then I think there might be one that we don't have, and then there's like 2 or 3 that we do. Yeah, I don't think I'll get much practice in, but I'll be there.
What do you mean? You'll be there? You're not going to be there. Your VLN, obviously.
Not VLN. I'll be there F1 Sunday night. This Sunday. I was so disappointed last race where I was like accidentally signed up for the fucking
You spaz. Yeah.
standard one and not the full length one.
Yeah, it happens. Happens to the best of us.
I wrote like I had to laugh that like in the first part of the race I was like, these guys just, they look like they're running lower fuel than me. They look like they haven't loaded the full race fuel.
All of them.
Just well, there's these 2 main guys that were quicker than me, but it was just the way they were quicker seemed effortless. Like it was like they're just not even trying and they're faster than me.
Making small mistakes and faster. It's the ones that are inconsistent but still somehow fast. You think, how is that possible? He put the corner flawlessly and he had a slide, yet he's still pulling away. How is that possible?
And it was just like the amount that they were pulling away. I was like, if I was on the mid-race fuel, I would be keeping up with them. Like, are they on that fuel or are they that much faster than me? And then at the end, and the thought to myself of like, these suckers have made a mistake. I'm going to beat them. And it's just like at the end of the race that I made the mistake. They're going to beat me. Fuck. Because I kind of had that of just like, you know what? I don't even care what they're doing. I'm just going to race my race and I reckon I'll beat them. Like,
yeah, but it's not a challenge if you use light fuel. You know, they're cockedy. I need to race full fuel. Make it a challenge for me.
Yeah, Sean's taken the last to first challenge seriously, right?
Well, I mean, I started on pole. That was the other thing, is like I qualified on pole by not a big margin, but like 3/10 or something to second. And I was kind of like, I'm faster than these guys. And then to not be quicker in the race, like I was in first for the first like 2 or 3 laps and they just sort of overtook me and took off into the distance. And I was like, what the fuck has just happened?
I've loaded the wrong set.
The guys there were thinking, what the hell does he have for a quality set?
He must be doing that break weave thing that they all talk about.
Yeah. Well, sometimes with quality, you think that person must have done the best lap of their entire life because I'm quicker than them in the race. And they might have been thinking that, like, that guy must have nailed his quality lap. And it's funny as well because my quality lap wasn't amazing. And so it was kind of like, oh, I'm on pole position, I'm slower than these guys. It wasn't a fantastic lap. Oh, if I have a stop and go, can I clear that for myself?
Yeah. Yes, you can.
Okay, I gotta... Where's my mouse?
Alright, you got a little while.
Clear penalties.
I don't know why you need to send me a private message to tell me that, though.
What?
Yeah, we saw it. It's fine.
What yeah, just how
the private, right, yeah.
But it's weird that it comes up as a private message and not as some sort of global admin
like
channel.
Admin.
Yeah. No Zeus, no.
Because iRacing just reusing existing code, right?
Yeah.
No, they don't do that. After they admitted in a court case that iRacing was 75% NASCAR racing source code.
I thought they merged out of Papyrus, but you're telling me that they actually formed another organisation using their code.
It was the people, as in it was Papyrus, because Sierra was the publisher, am I already right? So they...
Sierra, classic.
they own the source code, so they bought the source code and started their own company first, I think they called it. But yeah, it was all developed off the back of the NASCAR racing source code. Marcus got food or something, has he? What are you just sitting there waiting? What's he waiting for? What are you waiting for, stupid?
So you're telling me that deep down, under all this prettiness, I'm just driving oval?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just racing NASCAR right now?
Trans Am code.
And you call this prettiness?
Well, it's still a step up from NASCAR racing. DX9, was it? 789, I think it was DX9.
I don't know. Pick one of the versions.
This engine was DX9 when it first came out.
Exactly,
because it came out in 2009. And in 2009 would have definitely been DX9.
But if it's built off the back of Papyrus and NASCAR racing, then it's probably running off DX7.
No, they had 9, did they?
One day they'll update to DX12 and we'll actually get multi-threaded rendering.
Oh, wouldn't that be amazing?
And the performance gains are going to be insane.
There's a couple of games with DX12 that run just as shit on DX12 as it does DX11.
Oh yeah, but it depends how they implement it. So this game, especially in VR, the render thread like maxes out. So basically the CPU thread that feeds the GPU is maxed out for VR a lot of the time. Like that's the bottleneck, and it's because there's only one thread handling passing stuff to the GPU. DX12 makes some changes to the API, which makes it a lot easier for the game programmers to multi-thread their render code. So the idea is that they would update to DX12 and they would use these new APIs to then allow it to use more than one thread to feed the GPU, and that would clear up a big bottleneck that iRacing has, especially in VR.
Well, they better get their rain out, because it sounds like they're going to be fucking super busy when they're updating the DX12. They were very slow to do 11 from memory, weren't they?
Well, I don't think it's a trivial job. Like, I think it's a
I know
piece of work.
But it's your fan base is pretty fickle. Most gamers are pretty fickle about performance.
But I think games that are like the same performance on 11 and 12, they're also using engines that have kind of designed to max out DX11, and maybe they haven't taken full advantage of 12 yet. So it's sort of like a mature version of one tech and an immature version of another. Because I think you can multi-thread DX11, it's just much harder. The API isn't like designed for it, whereas DX12 is designed for having multiple threads feeding the GPU, which is essentially what DirectX is an API for the GPU.
You're costing me a second a lap to have this conversation.
That sounds like a you problem.
Yes, we're engaging in it.
I'm still in this conversation. I'm still catching you, so...
Yeah, I can't.
I can't talk and drive and still go like 100%, but I'm only a couple tenths off, I think, what my maximum is while I'm talking and driving. Like, I don't lose a second, I lose like 3 tenths, maybe.
Are you still on your initial fuel load? As in your...
Yes, yeah. When I got out of the car, I didn't refuel or retire. I just paused momentarily.
Dennis is on a light load.
Yes.
Yeah.
But old tires.
Yeah, light load.
But old tires.
Light load.
But old tires.
Light load. We could do this forever.
And hear me out here. Old tires.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but have you considered light load?
I have. But I don't think you've thought about old tyres.
I have thought about old tyres, but have you considered quite low?
Yes.
Excellent. We're good then. We have an understanding.
Yes.
Not sure what it is.
We fundamentally agree and disagree.
We have agreed to disagree, yes. Well, I'm in the
But looking at my lap times from before, I actually do agree in that by about lap 4, the tyres have sort of settled in and you're slow, but the fuel makes you slow as well. And I think you'll get progressively faster throughout the stint because the tires drop off initially and then they plateau.
So I'm currently in the. I had my lap of good grip.
Yeah.
And then I wasted one of them on talking.
Good.
And now I'm in the 5 or 6 laps of blah.
Now I'm kind of curious. I wonder if you go slow on your first 2 laps, are you just giving away time for nothing? Or are you then faster on like your laps 4 and 5 and stuff? Like, I wonder how it averages out. Like, should you absolutely push on your first 2 laps to make the most of that grip?
Because if you don't, it's gone anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always thought that's what iRacing did. It was not really coded for that take care of your tyres kind of stuff. Or is it more temp that iRacing worries about? Like
it's always felt like temp. iRacing's limiting thing always seems to be temp. It's like if you overheat your tyres, they go shit. And if you cool them back down, you've still got grip there. It's all about temperature.
But in real racing, there's too cold, and I feel iRacing doesn't do too cold well. They're much better. That F3 racing that we used to do in a lot of the Formula cars, much better.
Yeah, some cars definitely have, and like the F3, I agree, is one of them where it's like lap 1 is not as grippy. But some other cars, like the GT3s, have always been one where the lap 1 is the fastest, and you want to keep the tires cold. And it's like, I don't know why, but the GT3 cars always have that.
Yeah, I remember the Formula Renault 2.5 back in the day, or 2.0 was it?
3.5?
2.0.
2.0, yeah. That used to have no tyre warmers, and it was deathly on the first 2 laps.
Oh, the C7. Yeah. Did you ever drive the C7?
Yeah.
I didn't.
You'd be up against GTs with warmers or something. So you had this situation where they were all over you in sort of slow corners. The first lap. So of course, well, the enduro racing was the P2. What the fuck was the and the GT? The prototype, the old prototype.
GT1, the Aston GT1.
The prototype.
You mean the HPD?
HPD.
HPD, yeah, that's the one. But yeah. So that had tyre warmers, and then you had the C7 as the second class, and then you had a GT class. And the GTs were fucking all over us in any sort of slow conditions. That's not slow, cold conditions. So if the admin decided that it was a cold day or a track, they would kill us because they were super fucking deep in the brakes because they had nice warm tyres. Once we survived the first 4 or 5 laps, we were fine. But man, those opening laps against the GT cars were horrible.
It's the same as the Formula Renault 2.0. That thing was just survive the first couple of laps and you're golden. And they always used to put us on Zolder with a really deathly cold track.
I actually really like the F1 tires. They feel like they're probably the ones that I think they've gotten it the most right with. Like, if it's a cold track and a short track, then you probably want to do an extra warm-up lap to get the tires up. And like, you see that even in the real F1, like some cars on some tracks, they do an extra warm-up lap before they go for a quality lap. And it's kind of like, I have done, like at Long Beach, Dennis, I don't know if you remember, like we did that I was just like, this, you get better grip on the second flying lap. But if you're on a longer track, or worse, a longer track and hot track temps, then you want to baby it around the first lap and then go flat out on your first flying lap, because otherwise the tires will overheat and you'll have less grip. And it feels like it's really on that perfect limit where like your track conditions matter. It's not like a blanket rule for every, like, it's not just always baby the tires or always go flat out. It depends. I feel like they've really nailed the balance there.
Hit the wall then.
I'm on my in lap. I've done a full stint. If I can survive this lap.
Got 6 to go.
Can't believe I hit the fucking wall.
Don't hit the wall. Bad idea.
It was a bad idea.
Oh, Sean, there's 5 minutes left in the session.
Oh, I'm not going to finish my stint. Oh well.
Yeah, they got maintenance tonight, so I couldn't push it out for the 4 hours like I normally would. I'm so annoyed, Sean. I got so close to your time.
On fresh tires, I think I still have a little bit of time in me. I don't think I could match Jacob, but I could probably match Warwick.
Blow it at your ass. No chance.
Oh wow, the track temp's up to 37 as well. So if if we had a slightly cooler track, it'd be easy to get those lap times. Box in 1,071 meters. I like it. I'm glad he's got that, that extra meter in there as well.
Yeah.
Someone's done their job right. And here I am going to come into the corner and probably roll it, right?
See, that's the attention to detail that makes those good teams better than the shit teams that we were talking about, you know?
Oh shit, I'm running out of fuel coming down the pit lane.
You're downhill.
Well, there you go. So, did you do a full non-stop stint?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess you're right on. It'd be pretty hard to save an extra lap if you're already like right on the limit.
Well, at least clutching in is actually the speed, almost.
So I guess it could be. I mean, saving 1 lap of fuel over a whole stint on a lap where there's some big straights like this is probably possible. Depends if it's worth it, though.
Oh wow, the fronts were 66.
Double stinting?
kidding me? My optimal was 216.1 for the session.
Yeah, were you drafting?
Drafting.
Yeah.
Jeez. Warwick and I aren't going to give you anything. Just like,
No.
Apparently not.
that was drafting.
Nah,
Fuck you.
I feel in drafting it. Because I did
shut
notice the
down.
same thing. That's all.
Yeah.
I noticed it mine was down. But it meant that any time after that you thought, oh, I've got turn 1 okay, and you look down and go, yeah, nah, it's off. What's the dash? Is the dash your best, or is your dash your last lap?
Dash is your best, but it doesn't count if you get an off track.
Gotcha.
So best clean lap.
Best clean lap.
That's all. A lot easier than previous
Oh,
iterations
Jesus.
of the track.
Oh, I guess it's the end of the session anyway, so. Hit a curb and the car lost it. What did I do? So I think I was like 3 laps from the end of my stint. I had 66 on the left rear, which is by far my lowest. 80% on the fronts. And 75 on the right rear.
Wow. Okay, so you're harder on your left rear than me.
Yes, but not as hard on the fronts.
I've noticed that you are generally more aggressive on throttle than me.
Yeah, in
how we're driving.
Like, I think if I cleaned my driving up, I would be focusing on not sliding the rear, and so it makes sense that my rears are worn more. So, yeah.
Just keep the car pointy.
I expect that if I focused and was practicing for this, I would be reducing that rear slide, and I'd probably have even wear all around.
Fronts,
Or maybe slightly more on the rear.
fronts, I would say lockups, but I think you still get wear though if you're smashing the ABS, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends how you do the corners, because some drivers definitely, like, just put in more lock, and all it does is scrub the fronts. And that's a big way of wearing the fronts. But lockups also are a big deal. I just remember, Dennis, when the new Mercedes F1 car first came out, or it might have even been the McLaren when they updated the tyre model, we drove at Silverstone with Hawkon, and he was just like, I don't know how you guys are getting the tyres to last. And I watched him, and he was just cranking on the steering wheel, like in all the slow speed corners. He was just like completely scrubbing the front wheels all the way around the corner. And it was like, I was like, yeah, you just got to use like less steering lock. And he just like, it just wouldn't do it. Like, he was just like, but I need it to make the corner.
Hawkman was one of those guys that he is fast in the car, but he doesn't know why.
Yeah. And I think
put me in a car and I knew how to drive.
But I think part of that might be from the Skippy. Like, I think the Skippy benefited from keeping the tires as hot as possible.
It depends on the circuit as well, because I know that they're like Interlagos is one way you can't do that, right? Because you scrub too much speed.
Yes, yeah. So that's also a thing, and the Skippies without the power would be bad for that. But like, to me, it seemed like he'd driven cars where tire wear plays absolutely no role, and all you need to do is make sure that you're like making the corner and not letting the tires like get cold. And he was just like, yeah, just so much steering. And I've seen like Reddit posts and stuff as well where people are just like, I've got lots of tire wear, and you just watch them. All they're doing is just using tons of steering. And that's the dramatic example. But if you're using like 5% more steering lock than me, that could be the difference in the front wear throughout, a whole stint.
You know what's really funny? Every time I see one of those Reddit posts, what am I doing wrong? You look at the first 4 corners and it's all like, well, you're not using all the width of the track. You're not braking as late, or you're braking too late, and you're never hitting an apex. And on top of all of that, you're using too much steering lock.
Yep, I think you pretty much nailed it. That would be my feedback on basically anyone who's like, I'm like 3 seconds off the pace. Why? Like those things.
I just thought I'd buy this game and be good at it.
It's funny though because I feel like I remember it where it's like I understood what a racing line was. You want to be on the outside of the track, you turn in, you hit the apex, you're onto the outside on the outside. But if I watched the laps that I did back then, I'm sure I would have been like a meter in from the edge of the track. I would have missed the apex. I would have been like really late on the throttle. And it's like, it doesn't matter that you know what you're meant to do. Like executing is a whole different thing.
Yeah, what's really interesting
I grew up doing it in a car, a real car, on my
Yeah,
L's
true.
and P's where I shouldn't have. But that whole concept transfers, I think, in your brain. So you'd have done it already unconsciously, subconsciously, somewhere.
Not to the level of precision that you need, though. Like I think to Dennis's point, if you, I even remember watching Regis. Like Regis was like a second and a half or something off me at like Red Bull Ring in the F1 car, and I watched his lap, and it was like, yeah, you've got the idea right, but you're leaving like a tire width there, a tire width over there. You're missing that apex. You're slightly late on. Like I can see that you're slightly late on the throttle on this corner. Like a second and a half, 3 seconds. It's pretty small margins. Like you think you're doing the right thing, but you're not. And it'd be the same thing between what I'm doing now and what like the actual fast guys do as well. Like I think I'm doing the right thing, but I'm obviously not.
Well, you look at us in this session, right? 2:16.8, 2:17.0, 2:17.0, right? And I guarantee we're doing all the same thing about using the maximum of the track. We're trying to get the lines right, and we're trying to make sure we're not scrubbing the tyres too much.
And then someone comes on and goes a second and a half quicker than you, and you just go, what the fuck?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And then you watch them, and they're soaring at the wheel, right? So that's what gets me with those GT3 drivers in, in the streamers. You can see them; they're actually soaring at the wheel mid-corner or an exit of the corner.
Yeah.
And I just don't get that.
Because they're a lot closer to the limit than we are. Because that's what I felt like when I first tried your setup. Like all of a sudden, I'm fighting the car from apex to exit instead of having that feel in the rear. And maybe that's what I need to do. I need to step out of that comfort zone. And I watch Jacob. He does the same thing. All he does is practice going sideways because he's just young and loves to get cars sideways. And that's obviously helping him understand where that limit is between getting that car, and he's constantly on that limit. And I feel like I've stepped it back 1% or 2 because I'm never fighting the car on exit. I'm like, maybe I should be. Maybe
Yeah, I remember watching a Jimmy Broadbent video where I think it was one where like he went and did a simulator run. I think it might have been when he just joined that like real life team where he's driving the whatever it is. Yeah, and he went and did a simulator run, and one of the things he mentioned is just like in the like somebody else mentioned to him, he's just like in the middle of the corners, you're like back and forth on the wheel. That and all you're doing is subconsciously you're looking for grip. You're like, is that if I turn the wheel more, does it grip? No. If I turn it less, does it grip? No. Like you're finding the grip. You're doing it like multiple times a second throughout the entire corner, and that like loses you time because you're adjusting the tire angle the whole way through the corner. But you've got to do that initially. You find the grip, you know what it feels like, but then the idea is that once you're at the limit, you should be able to feel the limit and then just sort of sit at the limit and not soar at the wheel.
Yeah, when you first get in the car, I think you do that because you're trying to understand like where we are now. This is the first, second session for this car at this track. So you go, well, okay, where is the limit in this conditions? But by the end of the session, you go, okay, I'm pretty confident that I can go into this at, mid-rev. Gear 3, and I should be okay.
But I think
power on.
I think the subtle difference is like those streamers you're talking about, Dennis, where they're still soaring at the wheel, but they're fast. And I think it's like the soaring at the wheel is the way that they find the limit and stay near the limit. If they would have, do you
think it's balancing on the limit, or do you think it's a quirk of staying on that limit where just by soaring on it, you're just sort of floundering a little bit around that limit?
Either.
Simulator.
It could also be a simulator thing.
Yeah, because that's what I'm wondering if that is, because I even see Quirk do it, right?
I honestly think, well, it could be a simulator thing. So maybe that's the fastest piece of the simulator. But from what I understood from like the thing I saw during Broadband is like it could be a way that they just it's a crux for them to find the limit and stay there, and it makes it easier for them. But if they were to stay at the limit without doing it, they would be even faster. But the reason that they can do that and still be faster than us is that they're just simply closer to the limit than us. We're not soaring at the wheel, but we're also further from the limit.
True.
I need to tidy up my braking. I think my braking has always been where I've been shit at it. But I have noticed that there's a couple of corners here that when I nail, it's when I get to the apex and stand on the throttle a lot more aggressively, and then I've either got it right or then I just have to fight it. Just you can feel the back end starting to break away, and you sort of start correcting it. And it's those micro adjustments. If they're soaring, but they're soaring before the car gets away, as the car slides, and the greater the angle of the slide is when you start losing time. But if they're soaring, almost like a counter steer before it starts sliding, and they're keeping that car straight, then they're probably not losing as much time as what I'm doing, where it's slid, and then my brain's going, hang on, I think the car's sliding, you might want to count. It's almost like they're anticipating the slide, and they're sort of counter-correcting it before it even starts. But I feel like there's definitely time in some of these corners that I'm just not being aggressive enough on.
But it's hard though, because it's one of those things where, and I think the soaring helps in that, like, it helps creep up on that limit. Because if you go a little bit too far, you lose time because now you're sliding too much. So it's like it's about getting to the limit without going too far, and that's where like the soaring kind of lets you creep up on the limit. You're testing the waters repeatedly every